iPhone 15 and 15 Plus are pretty much last year's 14 Pro models, minus a few exceptions. While the change from the 12 to the 13, from a practical point at least, was pretty much non-existent, this year Apple has actually added some nice touches, and this is the phone I recommend for most people. So this isn't gonna be a detailed review of all the new features, but instead I'm gonna focus on the features that actually make this phone a good value and why I think this is the phone for most people looking to upgrade or even switch to an iPhone. But first I wanna talk about why people buy iPhone, because for a starting price of $799, there's a lot of other phones out there with similar features or even more features. But this video is not for those people interested in other phones. This is for people that want an iPhone, whether that's upgrading from a previous one or switching to from Android. So specifically the standard model. So this is my criteria of things that make a good standard iPhone. That's convenience, ease of use, and battery life. So let's start with convenience, right? Really every smartphone out there needs this, but we're talking about the iPhone right now. And this means it has to be able to do all the essentials and do them smoothly. So that's from communication to entertainment and navigation, whatever. Everyone's case is different, but it must have all the essentials. Secondly, we have ease of use. So all these features that the phone offers, it has to be able to be done smoothly and with not too much thought behind it, not too much messing around. Just everything should just work. And lastly, battery life. This is a given on any phone, whether you use your phone professionally or not. Whether you're at work or an activity, your phone should just be on and should be working if you need it. And it's not like previous standard iPhone models didn't do this, but just bear with me. First, I want to talk about the elephant in the room and my single gripe with this phone, and that's the 60 Hertz display, which is, I don't know, it's a shame. Like, I guess Apple's just trying to differentiate it from the Pro models, but even a 90 Hertz screen would have been nice. But the thing is, most people are not gonna care. Like personally, I couldn't do it. I can't go back from a 120 Hertz and go to this. It just feels sluggish. Other than that, I probably would have considered using this as my daily driver. But the thing is, most people either don't care or just can't tell the difference. This is why I recommend this phone for most people, because most people getting an iPhone don't care. So why would you pay $200 to upgrade to a Pro model? All right, so in terms of design, I'm a huge fan of this phone. I know a lot of people don't like the colors, but I'm a fan of the muted colors and the satin finish. Like, yeah, this is supposed to be the blue one and it's barely blue. I also feel like it looks better in natural light than artificial light. I have a, light here, so. But in like regular world use, I think the phone just looks better. That's just my opinion. And with the rounded edges, I'm a fan of this phone. Like I still like the boxy look, but I don't like the feel of it. And this is kind of like a good middle ground between the 14 Pro and then, now the 15. Besides that, they also just changed the dynamic island, which is, I hate to say this because I made a video on how I felt like it was a gimmick. Well, the notch now kind of dates the iPhone. Like, this makes it look newer. That's probably a mental thing, but that's the case for me. But other than that, in terms of the design, besides at the bottom here, USB-C, which we'll talk about, that's the phone, and I'm a fan. I think it looks good. So I want to talk about some of the other things they brought over from last year's Pro models on top of the dynamic island. Starting with the A16 Bionic chip, which is an upgrade from last year's A15 Bionic chip. It's about a 20% performance boost, which is nice. And the peak display brightness is now 2000 nits, which is also only on the Pro models last year versus, I forget what the number was on the 14 standard models. I'll put it on the screen. So they also kept the USB 2.0 speeds, but that doesn't matter. Anyone buying this device probably won't use that or need USB 3.0. But what does matter is that they finally switched over to USB-C, and now you have universal charging across all your devices. Just about every device out there uses USB-C at this point, and it's 2023, and it's a shame that they're just adding it now, but Apple is finally up to speed. And I'm pretty sure just about every single other Apple product in their lineup at this point has USB-C. At least all the modern ones within like the last 2 or 3 years. So yes, we finally have it. So one of the better upgrades overall is the new camera system. They have a new 48 megapixel camera sensor, I should say, for the main camera. And it's not the same as last year's 48 megapixel sensor. It's actually a little bit smaller, but in order to compensate for that, I guess it has a lower f-stop now, so it lets more light into the sensor. But overall, the main camera pictures on this are better than last year's Pro phones, which is nice. But in addition to that, even though this phone and last year's 14 Pro are rocking the same A16 Bionic chip, this phone supports next-gen portraits and last year's 14 Pro doesn't. So remember how I said part of what makes a good iPhone is ease of use and convenience? Well, with next-gen portraits, you don't even have to set your phone to portrait mode. Let's say you forget because you're trying to catch the moment or whatever. It'll get all that information that's needed for portrait mode, and then you can do all the edits after in the same Photos app, of course. It's definitely a software thing, because if they have the same A16 Bionic chip, I think Apple's just limiting the phones last year to, you know, sell this phone more. But I mean, I guess it's working, because I'm recommending this phone over last year's Pro because of that feature. I mean, next gen portrait is actually nice. It makes your photos look a lot better. Just having the option to blur the background, or, you know, even just kind of switch the focus between subjects. That's a really nice touch. You would think something like that is a feature that's reserved for the Pro phones, but it's on this one, and it works very well. It works as well as the 15 Pro I was reviewing. So that's a plus too. Get it.
So not everybody needs a bunch of pro features, but something a lot of people can take advantage of is the new microphone modes across any app. So pretty much right now, I have this running in the background. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off. This is what it sounds like with the vacuum running. If you're taking a meeting from an office, or just taking a meeting from home and have kids running around, this is a nice touch that a lot of people can use.
And then of course, the battery life. This phone has longer battery life than the 15 Pro Max I was testing. That's probably partly due to the 60 Hz screen. I mean, even though it's one of the reasons I won't get this phone, it's also one of the reasons why the battery is, I mean, it lasts pretty much all day. So I didn't get to test the standard 15, the smaller one, but people are reporting that they're getting longer battery life on their 15 than their 15 Pro. I was getting more battery life on this than the 15 Pro Max I was testing. So it seems like the standard 15s just have better battery overall, which again, seems like a good bargain. So if you're looking to upgrade this year, you can see how this phone has all the essential features you need and does them well. And then you have access to the Apple ecosystem. And now, of course, it's 2023, but they finally added USB-C. I wouldn't recommend any other phone at this point, me personally, because with USB-C, everything is now streamlined and it's easier, it's more convenient for everyone. Even if you're not in the Apple ecosystem, somebody needs to borrow a charger, or you need to borrow a charger or something. This is pretty much where what everyone is using at this point. So you get an iPhone that, you know, has all your essentials, and you still have access to the Apple ecosystem, and now you're up to speed with everyone else, every other tech product out there, all for a starting price of $799, which is still a lot of money, but it's definitely better than dropping $999, $1,000 on one of the Pro models. And I wouldn't recommend going back to the 14 Pros or 13 Pros anymore, because honestly, USB-C should have been added a long time ago, but it's finally here, and I think, you know, it'll future-proof you for at least 5-6 years down the line if, you know, you have your phone for that long. But yeah, you know, that's the iPhone 15, and if you can live without 120 Hertz refresh rate, then this is probably the phone for you. Yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one.